those questions. Every single one of the questions have done absolutely no good. No good. What we all ran from, because we had to go. So it doesn't, yeah, I want them to. Interviews when we were in the office, we didn't know what we were doing when we were in the office. Yeah, showed up. No.
Good.
Yep.
No, I know, I'm just saying, I'm saying, after we were meeting. Right.
Okay, folks, we're going to give this a try now. I think we're out on the internet and we're running about 10 minutes late. So anyone who's watching via the web, we're sorry, but we had what's known as a glitch. So hopefully we'll go streaming now without any incident. Turn off your phones if you would. The Register of Deeds is going to lead us in the invocation, treasurer in the pledge. If you'd like to join us for either or both, please rise.
If you would please bow your heads. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this glorious day and the opportunity to gather here. Lord, direct our thoughts, words, discussions, decisions, and actions that your will be done for the good of our community. We ask that you bless our nation, bless our state, bless our county, and bless our meeting. Lord, make your face shine on us and be gracious to us. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, ladies. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Bell,
Here.
Curran,
Here.
Freeling, Harrison,
Here.
Hinkleman, Majeri,
Here.
Scott,
Here.
Ballraff,
Here.
Werfel, here, Yarborough,
Present.
Elliott.
Here.
Mr. Chair, you have 9 present, 2 absent.
Thank you. The minutes from last week out at MSU Extension, haven't heard about any revisions. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Moved by Curran, supported by Bell. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Minutes are approved. Madam Clerk, I understand we have one communication.
Right. You have a resolution from Kalamazoo County Board of Commissioners urging state legislators to amend the Michigan Auto Insurance Reform Act to address a reimbursement cap for auto accident victims, received on May 9th.
Very good. Thank you. You want to go into the, yes, ma'am.
May I say something?
Yes, ma'am.
Regarding that communication, I had asked about if Berrien County could do a resolution like that. If, I don't know, we need to know if the other commissioners want to. I have a family member, a little girl, well, she's 20 something now, that was hit on, I forgot, Nickerson, by cars and trucks and all kinds of stuff. And so I know the, trouble that they're having, how they're gonna take care of this. She's, I don't know what age she was, 17 maybe, and it's been 10 years. And she needs all of that. And so I wondered if there was some way we could make a resolution that we would send. Would that be of value to wherever they go to the state legislators?
If you're gonna do it, it would come out of either admin or PHS.
Any thoughts around the horn here? We will look into that.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am. We have a presentation by Mike Crombeen with Midwest Strategy Group. Brian?
Yeah, so Mike is with Midwest Strategy Group. Mike represents a lobbying firm that the county is engaged. This is a new service. This is something that the county board hasn't had a lot of experience with. Something that's driving the engagement of Mike and his team is the $4.5 billion budget supplement that was approved by the House, the Senate, and ultimately signed into law. What we're trying to do is cast a wide net. And so I've met with Mike a couple of times, just walking him through the various projects that we have in the queue, everything from juvenile to broadband to EOC, you name it. We've brought him up to speed on the county's wants, our needs. And Mike's going to talk with you about some of his ideas on how to better target the state to see if we can go after grant loan funding from the state. So with that said, Mike, are you ready to engage the board?
I am here, and thank you for hosting me. I'll just start with a very brief background. I'm a partner at Midwest Strategy Group. We are a multi-client lobbying firm based a block from the Capitol. We are super excited to work with Berrien County and partner on a number of endeavors moving forward. By way of background, we do represent Lake Michigan College and Connexus Group as well. And so very familiar with some of the other entities down in Berrien County and some of the needs. As Brian mentioned, he's been getting us up to speed as we started here last month, trying to chase every opportunity we can and maximize not only state dollars, but a slew of federal dollars that are showing up in Lansing for purposes that the county can take advantage of. I will say I've never had a local government come in so prepared with the master plan of needs. So a kudos to the Berrien County staff for putting that together. You should have, at least I think you have a sort of one pager included in your packets that covers a couple of items that I'm going to go over here. But I guess what I want to open with is, I look at this as, my job is to serve whatever the priorities are of Berrien County. And so what I would say is, as we move forward on different endeavors and we look at different opportunities and funding opportunities that are out there, we'll chase all sorts of things. But if there are issues that are specific to the commissioners, if there are things that you're hearing about that you want to know more about, please just work with county staff and we'll make sure to get you any and all information, answer any questions you have about anything that's happening in state government. So I'll put that out there as we move forward. I want to highlight a couple of things that are, I think, very relevant and also, I think, high up on your list. And so I'll start with the rural broadband effort. I did have an opportunity to sit down via Zoom with the BC BIT group here, 2 weeks ago, and walk through some of the things that they're seeing locally, some of their priorities. There are sort of three different pieces that are out here right now, but we expect more opportunities to show up as it relates to broadband. So as Brian mentioned, the legislature passed a $4.7 billion supplemental using almost exclusively federal funds. And that includes $250 million related to broadband expansion, specifically in underserved and unserved areas. The way that those grants will go is it'll be a competitive grant process for internet service providers to apply for, to expand their access into some of these areas. It'll be interesting to see what the final scoring looks like, but we think it will sort of mimic the CMIC grant process. But 250 is sort of the first shot in the arm using those federal dollars to sort of get it out the door. The state does also continue to fund those CMIC or BEAM grants. The difference here between sort of the program that we had with CMIC and where I think we're heading with some of the federal regs is the speed requirements. So the CMIC grant program requires that your speeds be at least 25 megabits per second download and 3 megabits per second upload. Whereas what we're seeing with the spend on some of these federal dollars is 100 megabits per second download and 20 megabits per second upload, or 100 symmetrical. And for folks that may not be as aware, part of the rationale for this is as we're coming out of the pandemic, the needs and usage of internet have sort of changed as businesses evolve to deal with some of this stuff. And so I'm casting sort of a wide brush, but prior to the pandemic, it was about, can I stream my music or my movies? Can I download the files I need?
those type of efforts. But when we do things like video conferencing, like we're doing right now, we're both uploading a video while we're downloading it at the same time. And so those symmetrical speeds are what we're hearing from residents and businesses, parents with kids who had to go remote for a year, that's sort of the need. And so we're starting to see an evolution to a higher minimum speed requirement. Along those lines, your local senator, State Senator Kim Lasada, has introduced a bill, Senate Bill 970. It is currently in the Senate Appropriations Committee. There's no money attached to it yet, but what I'll tell folks is when bills get sent to the Appropriations Committee, it's usually because there's going to be an appropriation attached to it. Her legislation would create a pot of money and a grant program that would be run through local counties. And so the money would still ultimately go to internet service providers in your area, but the grant itself would go to counties to then dole out to the internet service providers in their area. And really what this comes down to is working with Senator Lasada, what we continue to hear and what I suspect you've all talked about in this room is how do we stack all of these resources? The county has certain resources that have shown up from federal funds. The state has a number of grant programs, but how can we layer different levels of funding on top of it to maximize these dollars? Go to our local internet service providers in an area and say, hey, what's it going to take for you to build out this portion of the county? What's it going to cost to make sure that everybody in the county has reliable internet speeds that allow business to get done, students to work in a productive way, and really bring rural Michigan in line with suburban and urban areas as far as access to reasonable internet speeds. So I talked to Senator Lasada's chief of staff earlier this week. They've made a request for funding. They wouldn't give me the exact dollar amount, but they're hoping for somewhere between, I think, 100 million and 500 million for that legislation, with the goal of then counties being able to sort of bid for that money and get it to internet service providers within their area. I'm going to transition here a little bit. Also in that large supplemental was $450 million for parks. $250 million is for state parks, state recreation areas, and then $200 million is going to local parks, with specifically 65 million of that being a competitive grant process that folks can apply for. And we think that will very similar mirror the Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund. DNR has not finalized that program for that 65 million. But it's another use of those federal dollars that folks are trying to get out the door to communities to take advantage of. And speaking of the Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund, just yesterday, the Senate Appropriations Committee passed the funding bill for the Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund board's approved projects, of which Berrien County should be proud because of 117 projects across the state, across 83 counties. 6 of those projects were in Berrien County. So they're listed in the document you should have. I know not all of them are county parks per se, but between your local municipalities and the counties, Berrien County's looking at 6 of those 117 projects across the state. So good work on that. I want to give a general budget timeline here. And I'll start with, under the last 3 years of divided government, we've got a Republican legislature, Democratic governor. We have not gotten the budget done ahead of the end of September. We have a constitutional obligation to pass this thing before October 1. And if there's no signed budget, we go into a shutdown. Everybody up here is talking about trying to get a budget done ahead of the 4th of July. I feel fairly confident that timeline is achievable. It will take the House, the Senate, and the governor sort of getting in a room and hashing out final differences. But the governor has her budget, which has been out since February. The House and Senate passed their budgets last week. And so we are heading into sort of the final stretch. From a background on that process, the state has a revenue estimating conference on May 20th. They'll bring in economists from the state, from U of M, to sort of pick the final numbers on what they think the total revenues for the state will be. And they will use that number to balance their budget, right? In Michigan, we have to have a balanced budget. We're not like the feds. We can't deficit spend. So we have to use dollars that we believe actually exist. I will note that the House set aside $1 billion of revenue and the Senate set aside $2 billion of revenue for what they are calling a future tax cut. We don't know exactly what form that will look like, and the governor has been a little hesitant to agree to a tax cut. But I do think there's also a discussion generally on some sort of tax relief that may accompany this budget deal. Particularly the income tax seems to be of interest for Republicans in the legislature. And then, of course, in conjunction with our annual budgets and our annual state revenues, as we've talked about, the state is still sitting on billions of federal dollars. So we still have some COVID relief funds from CARES and ARPA on the ledger. Additionally, the state received billions of dollars from the IIJA, which was the federal infrastructure bill. We are waiting on final federal regulations on the IIJA funding to see how those dollars can specifically be used. But we know that there's a portion of funding in the IIJA specifically for broadband. We know that we can use it for certain infrastructure projects. And so I think we're going to see a long conversation here over the next 2 months about what I would call one-time funding, right? These federal dollars are not ongoing. We're not going to have them year over year, but the state's going to want to maximize the investment in one-time funding. And so we've been working with your county staff on what would be a good use of those dollars locally from a standpoint of what are the projects, what are the facility upgrades that we could use those dollars for, that the county has the ability to maintain over time, but that the one-time funding would help, put shovels in the ground and really upgrade those facilities. And so we'll be working on that. I will highlight just very briefly county revenue sharing numbers. The governor and the Senate's budget both include a 5% increase to operations and a 5% one-time spending on county revenue sharing. The total dollar amount for that across the state was about a $23.2 million increase in funding. The House is much less. Their budget includes a 1% increase and then a 1% one-time infusion into county revenue sharing. But I mentioned that because as we head into conference committee, that sort of gives you the floor and the ceiling between the three legs of the stool. We're likely to land somewhere between 1 and 1 and 5 and 5. And so, that's not a Berrien specific issue, but certainly those operational dollars have real meaning for the county and the programs that you all operate as well. I think what I'll do is I'll pause there. I'm happy to answer any questions that folks have. And as I mentioned at the beginning, I want to make sure that these updates and the work that we're doing and the partnership that we have and the work we're doing with county staff is relevant and things that the board find useful. And so please don't contain your questions just to the items I've covered. If there are things that are important to you, I want to make sure I answer all of your questions.
Anyone have any questions for Mr. Crombie?
Make sure you use your mics if you do.
Well, apparently you covered it so well. Well, wait, we do have one.
Hi, Mike, Bob Harrison. With the parks funding, so we've got a lot of proposals kicking around here in Berrien County, linear parks, bike trails, and then naturally the county-owned and operated facilities. Any better timeline on when that money might become available and what process we should use to get ready to submit proposals?
So my best advice for park improvements, particularly of smaller dollar amounts. So if you think about the $65 million and the statewide need for local park systems, I think the rubric similar to the Natural Resources Trust Fund rubric, whether it requires a match, I think you will score better if you have a match, right? For the smaller dollar amounts, I would look at that process. You have a 5-year Parks Master Plan. I know that because it's required for the Natural Resources Trust Fund process, of which you guys, raked in a couple of projects there. So I would look to that from a standpoint of, hey, what would $500,000 do here? What would $100,000 do here? I think that $65 million pot makes a ton of sense for stuff that might be in that 5-year master plan. Additionally, I know you have some higher aspirations. I think about the beach proposal, Silver Beach plan and drawings that you all have looked at. I think our target on that, we're having some conversations with lawmakers, is seeing if we could get one-time dollars in the budget specifically for that project as an earmark, rather than going after the grant. And I think that's specific to the magnitude of the project, the cost of the project, and frankly, the political nature of people liking to cut ribbons on things like parks. So, we'll look at a number of those opportunities. My conversations with county staff are, let's prioritize, our top 3, 4, 5 things that are most important to us. But then let's also keep an eye out for opportunities and pots of money that show up, like the 65 million, and make sure that we're applying for everything we can. Because even if something wasn't a top 5 priority, with all the federal money out there, we should make sure we're going after it where we've got, things that qualify.
Anyone else?
Yes. Hello, Michael. This is Commissioner Mamie Yarborough. When you said parks, or it might be something small, all I can think of, and I'm not ashamed of this, is toilets. We have parks with no toilets, and that would be a wonderful thing. And then the fact that you've looked at and know about our Silver Beach plans, it's just marvelous. I think this is a valuable discussion. I'm on the Parks Committee. Commissioner Harrison, are you on the Parks Committee? Oh, anyway, we meet this week or next week. I'm gonna tell them there's money somewhere.
I can get some more details, and we may have more from DNR ahead of next week. So I will send that to Brian, Commissioner, and he can get that information to you. My my advice for folks, and again, I'm happy to answer all the questions. Sometimes it's easier if it just funnels through one person. So if you all after this meeting have other questions that pop up, Brian knows how to get a hold of me. If you're looking for specific information on something, ask Brian, and I will track down anything and everything you need.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, my plan is to just have Mike on a somewhat regular basis, just checking in with you all. Typically, we'd plug this into committee of the whole. For this week, we had a little bit different circumstance. So if you have questions, concerns, let me know. I will make sure that we're coordinating with Mike. And then on the Silver Beach plan, we spent some time going through it, showing him the proposal, showing him the costs, and then talking about some of the proposed lease space that would be to be built there. So we'll do what we can to see if we can find some funding for it.
All right, very good. Thank you, Mike. We'll look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you so much, Commission.
Okay, resolutions. Public comments about resolutions. If anyone has any, name and where you're from, and refer to the specific resolution that you wish to comment on. All right, hearing none, we'll go to the consent calendar. Haven't received any requests to pull anything. It's not a very long calendar, so we have no added resolutions, just have the 2. Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved.
Moved by Scott. Is there support? Support. Supported by Werfel. Any discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Curran,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Majerick,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Walrath,
Affirmative.
Werfel,
Yes.
Yarborough,
Yes.
Bell,
Yes.
Elliott.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 9 yeas.
Thank you. Who left? Oh, that's right. We're down to 11. I mistakenly said 10 earlier. Okay, so committee reports, PHS is listed first. Mr. Chair of PHS.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have several resolutions that will come to you at your next meeting. One regarding a contract with MPHI. This is for assistance in redesigning some of the file structures out at the health department. They also have a contract renewal with King Media. This is a joint project with Van Buren County relating to education regarding marijuana use. And then also one regarding the farmer's market. This is the matching dollar that double up your purchases using if you're on the SNAP or the food assistance program. So you'll see those at your next board meeting. We had Guy Miller come in, give us an update on various activities out at the health department, and things are moving forward, filling some positions there. And so we're pleased with that. We also talked about, we approved our per diem for the month of April. We approved the monthly pension refunds and rollover requests. We also approved an advanced step higher for the health department. And then also reviewed in great detail the veterans grant initiatives. These are the ones funded by the Veterans Administration to our local department. And we also considered and approved a medical leave extension for an employee in facilities who's on extended medical leave. So it's a minimal cost to the county. So we had a pretty busy meeting, talked a bit about the use of some supplemental COVID dollars in the health department, and then naturally met with our administrator and county chair and talked about a number of issues that I won't go into any great detail about. And gentlemen, does that cover everything? We had a very busy meeting.
Questions for PHS? Okay, Mr. Admin Chair.
Thank you, Mac. We had the sheriff and undersheriff in to see us this morning. Everyone receives a copy of the sheriff's report, so I'll hit the high points. 334 male inmates were booked, 106 female inmates were booked, 440 inmates booked or committed to jail, 449 inmates permanently released from jail. Sheriff talked about transporting of prisoners. 14 inmates were picked up from other facilities within the state of Michigan. 10 inmates were picked up from other facilities out of the state of Michigan. And he has a third-party contractor that handles transports of prisoners if they involve a great distance. He's got 2 deputies that do transports. So like if it's an adjoining state, you know, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, something like that, he would do that in-house. Otherwise, he contracts with a third party to get anyone else. Although he did mention if we ever picked up one in Hawaii, he would probably take care of that in-house and not contract that one out. They handled 1,454 complaints, issued 122 tickets, and made 112 arrests. So they are keeping busy. He noted with the number of inmates in the jail and whatnot, things are starting to get back to normal. They're getting busy and they're getting full. They did talk about the Marine Division. Those of you who know Lieutenant Fred Lesh, he's retiring. He's going to retire in September, and Sergeant Mark Hopkins is going to take his position. So, and also at the same time, those of you who know Sergeant Ron Bush out the emergency management, he's also going to retire. I'm not sure exactly when the date was on that, but he's kind of he's in the emergency management. He's kind of our radio guru guy. So we're going to miss him. That's pretty much it from the sheriff. And then, well, we did talk to him, or he talked to us about a resolution that I'll get into here in a minute. After the sheriff, we had Kevin Stack. basically just brought us up to date on some things as well as more detail on the Napier Bridge. The township contracts are pretty much all in. He said they went very well this year. They ordered a road grader a while back. He said that's in. It's being prepped now to be put into service. And he said they're beginning their paving projects and their mowing. Those type of things are all starting to get underway. Talk a little bit about the garages. This is when Brian was present. You know, the Niles property down there off of Pucker Street, they're getting closer, or we are getting closer to closing on that property to be able to use it as a road department garage. And also in Baroda, Brian has been in contact with the village and township because of where the property sits about adding on to our garage down there. So they kind of brought us up to date on those two things. Any questions from the sheriff report or from the road department report? Okay, then we do have some resolutions. The first one ends in 5273, and we applied for a marine grant through the Michigan DNR, and we applied for it, and this resolution is to accept the money. It's the amount of $95,700, and that is for this year, for the remainder of this year, and that's for the Marine Safety Program Grant. So that will be coming to you next time we get together. The sheriff and undersheriff, and undersheriff is here. If you have any specific questions on this, these are for cameras to be put out into the public. It's a contract with Flock Group Incorporated. You know, a lot of the big cities have cameras all over the place, you know, intersections, residential neighborhoods. And a lot of the times when you see video footage on television, it came from one of those cameras. This is the same concept, except it's going to be in the county. It's going to be for us, not necessarily the larger cities. So this resolution is for the sheriff's department to enter into a contract with Flock Group Incorporated to place 20 cameras throughout the county for a pilot program for 60 days. There's no cost to us for during this period of time. During that 60-day period, the sheriff can terminate the contract anytime he wants. After that 60-day period, the sheriff and the undersheriff will evaluate the information to see if it's useful, to see if it wants to be continued. If it does, if the sheriff decides that they do want to continue with those cameras, they're $2,500 each. And then we would have another resolution to enter into a contract to continue the service. But this is for a 60-day trial. Resolution 5283 is when we brought to you last week or 2 weeks ago about Blue Ridge Path. Apparently in that resolution, there were no traffic control devices put into that resolution. There was supposed to be a stop sign put in there. So resolution 5283 is to put a stop sign at the intersection of Blue Ridge Path and Ridge Road. That's what that's for. We had Brian in to see us. He talked about the road garages, but he also talked to us about he has been doing site visits on juvenile center facilities. And so far he went to Muskegon County and Ottawa County. So he updated us on those two facilities. He still has another couple he wants to go to, Kalamazoo County. And then he's gonna take the admin committee to probably 2 of those facilities to evaluate how those, because these are newer facilities, see how they're laid out, see how they would fit into our plan. And Brian is also still gathering information from our people in-house as to what their needs are, as we've done in the past. And that is our report, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Questions for admin? All right, Madam Chair of Finance, you're on.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Our meeting, we had two members present, and we ask, or the policy says, our chairman, R. McKinley Elliott, would be on our committee with us. And I thank you for that. We needed you to support Ezra. So we had a good meeting, and we started out with the Financial Services Director, Doug James, and our Drain Commissioner, Christopher Quatrain. It was regarding the 2021 audit. There were some updates that we needed about that. Then we had our financial analyst, Jake Lideker, came in. We had bid openings for the road department. And I'd like to ask Commissioner Ezra Scott if he would tell us about those, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We had 5 different bids. Union Avenue HMA, these were all HMA. That went from 255,000 to 227,000. There was only 2 people that bid on it. We sent it out to 5, only 2 responded. I believe all of these, we sent it out to 5 and only 2 responded. John Beers Road went from 349 to 317. The next one was Sodas Parkway. That went from 484 to 515. And Pipestone Road, that went from 305 to 303. And then the Red Arrow Highway corridor that Kevin had talked to us about before went from 386 to 421. So we sent all of those bids back to the road department for their purview to make sure that they met the bid specifications for that project and to go with the lowest bidder. And then, of course, giving the county administrator the authorization to make changes up to $10,000 on those contracts. So, thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And then we had a meeting with Treasurer Shelley White, and you will have a resolution coming next week that we ask you to vote on and to consider it. We voted, or do we vote on that? No.
No, we did not.
What's the word?
Consensus.
We had a consensus that we would bring that resolution next week. And what it is to outsource our foreclosure process. In 20 and 21, we used a company called, was it Midwest also?
Title check.
Title check.
Oh, Title Check. And if you looked on your computer or you hear people talking, rather than renting a building and doing all that we've had to do in the Treasurer's Department, it's now being outsourced to a company. There are 83 counties in Michigan. This company does 74 of them. So it's a way that all are going. We don't have to rent a building anymore or have all those plaques and collections and all the help that we can get and security and all of that. And Treasurer White said she's been very satisfied with it and they need it. As you know, all of our departments are down with employees. She works very closely with the title search, Miss Freeling. All the things that they do are interconnected, and so it's working well. And they would like to, the resolution we're bringing next week is for 5 years. We've done it 2 years, been very satisfied, so are other counties and all. And that's what we're asking you to approve next week. We paid the weekly bills, we passed our minutes, and trying to see if there's anything else here. That's it.
Thank you. Questions for finance? All right, we'll go next to board appointments. The Finance Committee has recommended filling a vacancy on the Planning Commission and filling 2 of the 3 vacancies on the Economic Development Board. We can do these in one vote. The Planning Commission recommendation is to appoint Adam Schaller, SCHALLER, to finish a term that expires the end of this calendar year. And then for the Economic Development Board, 2 terms, or to finish terms expiring on 12/31 of 2027. for John Bonkoski, that's B like Bill, Onkoske, and Ashley Butler, Ashley, Ashley. Is there a motion?
I so move.
Moved by Yarborough. Is there support? Support. Supported by Scott. Comments, questions? Hearing none, all in favor to make these appointments effective immediately, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Those appointments are done effective today.
Thank you.
Now, commissioner reports. Bob, you want to start?
Sure, I attended the meeting of the Human Services Council. We spent a lot of time talking about the recall elections, and they express appreciation for the elections board as well as the staff trying to manage that process. So there was a great deal of interest and support from that. Also been involved in interviews for the road department director, and then lining up discussion for the health department interview. So that would conclude my report.
Last Friday, I believe, I, along with Commissioner Yarborough and Commissioner Freeling, attended the Michigan Association of County Drain Commissioners Southwest District meeting held at Waco Beach House. And we just received a lot of updates on all of the drain commissioners for this side of Michigan. They conducted their business meeting, and we got some update on lake level legislation as well as critical dune regulations going on in the state. And so that was a very interesting meeting. We also got a chance to hear from our state senator, Kim Lasada. And so she gave us an update on things regarding drains and dunes and everything. And so that was a good meeting. And I also attended the planning commission meeting of St. Joseph Charter Township, and they discussed development going on at the Berrien Hills Golf Course. And so there's some exciting things going on that they are planning to move forward to the full board of trustees out at St. Joseph Charter Township. So that concludes my report.
I also participated in the road department director interviews and participated in the Napier Bridge inspection along with Brian and Julie and Dave. And if I may say, I think that Brian and Kevin did an excellent job on not only bringing us up to speed and the whole board, but also the public. Because I think the main concern is it safe to travel across that bridge? And we saw it firsthand, and I think they've done a very good job of getting that information out to the public that it's going to be safe when they open it up. That's my report.
I had the same visit yesterday, and appreciate Kevin filling us in on all of it. He gave us a lot of information, and I feel very safe. And when we do open the bridge, that it will be safe and it'll be passable for, I know my family got plenty that go across that bridge all the time, so I have no problem that they're doing the right thing right now.
Ditto what Jim and Dave said on the bridge. That was fascinating to be able to go into that bridge yesterday and see what was going on and the work that they're doing. I live right in that area and travel that bridge daily and have missed it tremendously in the last month, but I fully expected it to be September, October. And what a nice surprise yesterday to find out it was going to be in the next 2 weeks. So that it'll be passable for everyone. That's it.
No report.
No report.
I have a report. I too attended the Drain Commission of Southwest Michigan, and it was well attended and just a wonderful thing. I think always when you're with a group and you get to hear what they're saying or get to talk with them and know that your county is not the only one doing that or experiencing this thing or highs and lows. And they were very knowledgeable. The presenters were good. I think they were all attorneys. It seemed like the food was wonderful, and it was great to be at Waco Beach.
Thank you.
Did you have anything?
Yeah, just a couple of things. First, I'm going to ask Annette just to brief you all on what the schedule is going to look like next week.
So we're gonna go ahead and we start at 8:35 next Thursday. I chatted with the chair. We're planning for 10-minute interviews with 5 minutes in between. In order to do that, that I should be able to get you in and out by 9:45. I've been instructed the secretaries to schedule your agendas for next week to start at 9:45. I will move the minutes approvals and like the requisition review. Like the minutes I'll put on the 10:30 and I'll do the same thing with the requisition review prior to you guys voting on that. Of course, if you have any questions, you can always email me with those or that kind of thing. So feel free to do that. But that should be able to get you through the interview process and still have some time in your committee meetings. I did surrender your time, yours and Mac's time at the committee so that if they needed to fill in other people, they could.
That'll be hard, but we'll manage. Thank you. Do you have anything else?
Just as a recap, so Kevin Stacks put out press release on Napier Bridge reopening. Road Department has also done a separate press release announcing the detour routes for tomorrow, for this weekend's parade. Continuing down the list, we'll have information going out from the Sheriff's Office on Monday's Police Officers Memorial. That'll be 2 blocks from here at noon. That's Monday. The sheriff was in admin and he talked about the essentially the handoff of animal control duties. So the sheriff is not in the room right now. He is in Niles helping with a loose animal. And the plan is they'll be conducting an interview for a full-time animal control officer tomorrow. That will get the staffing levels up to 3. And the sheriff is also talking with another animal control officer candidate, which would push us back to 4 FTEs. The authorizing resolution boosted our number from 4 to 5. So whether or not he'll be able to find that 5th is to be determined at this moment. The current animal control officers have spent this week going through the sheriff's office training. And lastly, Buildings and Grounds has been working with the acting director, Ashley, on looking at some acoustic improvements. If you have been in the kennel, you know how loud it is. So that's something that we're working with now. And we're talking with the Friends group about a potential cost sharing on that project. So that's a lot, but those are my comments, sir.
Any questions for the administrator? All right, we'll move to public comments. I'll preface, as was done earlier, reading a statement prepared by corporate counsel. The Board of Commissioners embraces diverse points of view as the board considers a wide variety of policy challenges. The right to be heard is a central democratic value. That said, public comment is most productive when it is civil and respectful. Personal attacks have no place in reasoned discourse. We urge all commenters to share their viewpoints in a manner that is respectful and courteous, and to refrain from making comments that are abusive, defamatory, or obscene. Simply stated, under our Constitution here in Michigan, under the US Constitution, we enjoy freedom of speech. We have a right even to be wrong, because our opinions don't necessarily have to be accurate or factual, but we don't have a right to be reckless. It's axiomatic that we don't have a right to stand up in a crowded theater and shout fire, because that would not be freedom of speech. That would be reckless behavior, putting people at risk. So against that backdrop, we will probably, if the board is agreeable, modify our general public comments provision and the provision concerning comments about resolutions to include an admonition to not make statements that are abusive, defamatory, obscene, threatening, things of that sort. Things that people should know not to do anyway. But it doesn't hurt to underscore and remind us to be governed by the better angels of our nature. So with that, if anyone has any comment they wish to make, they have up to 2 minutes. Just give us your name and where you're from, and we'd like to hear from you. Yes, sir.
Belzer, Hager Township. Last meeting, I screwed up a little bit. I apologize for that. What I was trying to say is there were 83 counties in the state of Michigan. Only 3 of them eliminated the road commission, and we are the 3rd one. Now, the road commission, you had people on there that were experts on roads. There were 5 of them. Each one was qualified. I applied for one of those positions, teaching. I figured teaching driver aid for 25 years, I had something to say, but I didn't get picked because the other guys were more qualified. What the qualifications you guys have as far as the roads go? No, I think that's a grave mistake, eliminating that. I don't know what was going on over there. You guys never told us why you did that. No, I like to have some kind of statement or something explaining to us, the public, why you eliminate the road commission. All of a sudden, you eliminate it, and they must, I don't know what it was, conflict or something. No, the way to solve that problem is to eliminate the department, right? The road commission come up with their department. Another thing I wanted to ask about is, look at the 83 counties. I checked with Van Buren County. They allow, listen to this, 4 minutes for public comments. Now, what is going on here? No, you're taking away 2 minutes of our time. You guys don't want to listen to it, do you? We are the public. So I suggest you work on that. Give it 3 minutes or something. No, it's not fair that some of the other counties, I only checked on that one, have 4 minutes for a public comment, and you guys cut it down. And another thing is, I like that arrangement we had.
2 minutes, sir.
I like that arrangement you got. I was hoping you guys could do the same thing. And I was able to hear everybody. I was sitting over there. When you were sitting there, and somebody was over there. No, you had to talk a little louder. Now you're right back to your buddy system. You talk to somebody over there. You talk to somebody next to you. We're sitting back here. Think about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Peltzer. Anyone else wish to be heard? Yes, sir.
I'd like to introduce myself. I'm James Martin, one of your people that you're going to interview next week from Benton Township. And that's the first thing. Looking forward to speaking with you. Second of all, just wanted to inform you that Sunday, there's going to be a women's rights march that has already gone through the city of St. Joe process. It's going to start at the Barron County Courthouse. It's going to come down the road and end up at the band shell, and there will be speakers and everything there. I believe there's also going to be some candidates that are going to be running that are going to be speaking also on it. So just something I'd like to inform the county about and the board. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to be heard? All right, public comment is closed. We'll go to other business. Anybody have any other business?
Mr. Chair, I do have just one more. I've sent you all a reminder. Carol's Hope is a local treatment provider that I think everybody's familiar with. They are having a fundraiser Saturday night. So if any of you are looking for something to do, it's the comedy show at the Kickers Soccer Club. So we have some staff that are helping to run it. If you need help finding tickets, just let me know. That's it.
Very good, thank you. Does anybody have anything else? As you can see from the agenda, we're reminded that we have a special meeting at 8:35 where we will be talking with Jim Martin and 3 other people. The clerk tells me that's already been posted as a special meeting, not as a committee of the whole. And then, of course, our regular meeting at 10:30 as per the usual. Anybody have anything else?
Blossom parade Saturday, right?
Pardon me?
Blossom parade Saturday,
Yes,
1 o'clock,
yes, sir.
1 or 12?
I thought it was 10. One, okay. 10 o'clock California time.
On TV?
Channel 22. Oh, did you break another laptop? Oh, okay. All right. If there's nothing else, we're adjourned.